Get ready for another episode of Live Speak. With Justin the Geek. Justin the Geek. Justin the Geek. Justin the Geek.
Justin the Geek.
What you're about to hear. Live Speak. Justin the Geek. Breaking news.
Live Speak.
Interesting guests.
Justin the Geek.
Your calls and texts. Live Speak. Tips and news you can use. Warning. 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 This program is highly addictive and habit-forming. Side effects include happiness, knowledge, memory improvement, and retention, increased attention span, loss of disabilities, and more. Consult your doctor before listening to this program. Now, enjoy the show responsibly.
Welcome, everybody, to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. I am Justin the Geek. I hope everybody's having a great Sunday. I myself am having a fabulous Sunday. It's pretty nice here in the Northwest with sunny skies, which is very rare. I give it about 20 minutes until the sun goes away and it starts downpouring, but I'll enjoy it while I can. Got a great show today. I have a couple of co-hosts with me today. We're not going to call them guests because they're going to be here for the whole show, so whether you like them or not, they'll be here. I have with me today Alan Quant from The Digital Craft and Alex Moses from Udemy.com. How's it going, guys?
Great to be here.
Good. So we were talking and we were discussing last week the Facebook phone, the Facebook Home app for your phone, and I think I discussed that I kind of liked it and I think it would be a good idea. And now that it's out, I've been hearing a lot of reviews about it not being such a good idea. People are getting very annoyed with the chat heads feature. Having a little round bubble pop up on your screen and cover up what you're doing, I guess, can be pretty annoying whenever somebody sends you a message. I don't have the Facebook Home app. I don't have an Android device of any kind. So, I mean, do either of you guys have an Android or an Android phone?
Yeah, but it's mine doesn't have it. The wife's phone though it didn't get Facebook Home, but when she updated Facebook, the chat head thing came with it, and it's driving her mad.
I think it would be really annoying.
Does it just go off for any message sent to you, regardless of if you're tagged in a Facebook post, even?
No, it's just for. Is it for anything, or is it just? Because I know when notifications come through on the cover feed, and you get your notifications that pop up on top of everything, which is probably annoying too. But the chat heads, I think, is just for your messaging through Facebook messaging and SMS text messaging, I think.
Yeah, so anytime I send her a message, my awesome face pops up on top of what she's doing.
Right. And if you have like 4 people that send you messages, you get 4 different bubbles. I mean, they group up on top of each other, I think. But you still have to spread them out to figure out who's sending you messages, and that covers your whole phone. So that's just one of the things I've heard that's really annoying. The other thing I've heard is that the app itself is a limited version of Facebook. So there's things that you can't do, obviously, on there that you could do on your computer. I mean, you can't, it's not a computer, it's a phone, but I guess they even limited it even more than just that. So you can only do a few things with Facebook. So they make your whole phone Facebook and then say you can't do hardly anything with it. Me personally, that would piss me off. But I have an iPhone, so I have no idea.
The notifications on the iPhone are plenty obtrusive as they are. I thought the whole point of Facebook was to compete with that and say, look, here's a way less intrusive way to do it. You're saying that they have failed miserably at that attempt.
You know, you're right. That is kind of funny because the message that Facebook was giving is that we want this to be people-driven. We want this to be comfortable and convenient, and I think they went completely the opposite direction. They wanted it to be people first and apps second. Well, they've done that, where if you have to get to any of your apps, you have to get out of Facebook, find your app. And I also heard that if you open an app and you're doing something in it and you lock your phone and then you come back, it'll close out of that app and bring up Facebook again because that's your home and lock screen. Then you have to go back into that app again and start doing what you were doing, which to me would get really annoying.
Yeah.
But I guess you can just take it off your phone if you don't like it.
Can you?
I think so. I'm pretty sure you can just uninstall it. I mean, it is just an app.
Yeah,
But
I'm quite quite happy with it just telling me up in the status bar that I have a message.
Yeah, that's plenty for me. honestly. I mean, I'm not too worried about where my messages are coming from or how many I have. I'll go look at them when I have a second. I don't need them jumping up at me all the time.
I just prefer less people message me in general.
Well, you're Alan Quan. Good luck with that one. 1.5 million YouTube views. You get a few messages a day.
You and that number.
Jeez. I'll trade you. I will. I mean, I get probably 2 messages a day, and I think one's from my mom, usually. That's about it.
Good show, Justin. Good show.
Exactly. She'll probably pop on the chat here in a minute just to be, seriously. Yep, there she is. See? Told you.
You coming over for cookies later?
Yeah, she lives too far away. She lives in Boring, Montana. I'm definitely not going there. I moved back from there, and that place sucks.
I've seen pictures of Montana, and it beats Indiana, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's bad, man.
We are a plain state.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, you got Yellowstone. You can't complain about Montana.
Yeah, I guess,
really,
but... Oh, God.
Double rainbows and everything.
Yeah, but have you ever been to Yellowstone?
No,
Yeah,
but the pictures
gorgeous.
are cool.
That's about it. It's gorgeous. I mean, but you got to go at this the right time of year. I went in May, and that was a bad idea. The whole town that we went to was still closed. There was one store in the whole place that was open, and it was just... We got stuck in the condo that we were at because it snowed so much. Timed it terribly. In May. That was a bad move. I thought May would have been, a decent time to go, but it was the only time I could get off of work, so bad move. Anyway, now that we're totally not even talking about anything relevant, why don't we go to a quick commercial break? We'll let the sponsors do what they need to do, and then we'll come back and talk about one of our main topics for the show. Sound good, guys?
Sounds great.
All right. Alan says. We'll be right back with Live Speak with Justin the Geek.
Stop. Everyone listen to me. You're spending hundreds of dollars and wasting time taking your computer to the Geek Squad. If you want your computer to run better, here is the secret. Do it yourself. I know that sounds like a lot of work, but I promise you it's not. With proper guidance, you can get your computer running like brand new again. See for yourself. Sign up for Computer Repair for Beginners and Experts alike today. It's only $9. That's it. Even if you don't think your computer needs a tune-up, this course is designed to help prevent future problems from happening. If someone told you that you could prevent your car from breaking down, would you take advantage of it? Of course you would. So why neglect your computer, especially for only $9? And every review has been a perfect 5-star rating that speaks for itself. With a no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee, what do you have to lose? Head over to www.geekcreations.com and click online courses to get started today. Save yourself a headache. Fix it in one day so you can get back to using your computer again. Go now. www.geekcreations.com. That's GEEKREATIONS.com and click online courses. Time is wasting. Go now. You're listening to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. Every Sunday at 2 p.m. He's bringing you amazing courses from great instructors on Udemy.com. Lots of tech talk, phone calls, and much more. Live every Sunday of every week. This is Live Speak. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Live Speak with Justin the Geek. I'm here with Alex Moses from Udemy.com and Alan Quant from thedigitalcraft.com. We were talking about nothing before the break, a whole lot of nothing. So I think we should probably get on to one of our topics. We discussed a little bit about this last week, and we wanted to go more in depth about it this week in the idea of open source. Now, as far as open source goes, a lot of people know it as open source coding. And Wikipedia defines it very complicated as a philosophy or pragmatic methodology that promotes free redistribution and access to an end product's design and implementation details. Yeah, they don't sum it up in any way, but in general, open source refers to a program in which the source code is available to the general public, so it can be modified from its original design. Now, open source is typically created as a collaborative effort in which programmers improve upon the code and share the changes within that community. So open source sprouted in the technological community as a response to proprietary software owned by corporations like Microsoft. So now this knowledge of code, I mean, it started out basically with, like in your world, Alan, with HTML, you being able to view the source, viewing source code. That was really one of the first open source things, being able to go to somebody's website, view their source, copy it, and then change it if you want to.
I went to the View Source Academy. That's that's kind of how I learned how to do websites.
I think that's a majority of people do, because you get to see how things are done, what they look like, and then just kind of, I know it sounds bad, but you kind of steal an idea and learn how to do it yourself. And I think that's originally, and that's what they mentioned on opensource.com, is that's kind of where it originated from, was from HTML. Opensource.com, by the way, is a great site to see how open source, the idea of open source is changing the world. It's not just with software anymore. And that's what we wanted to talk about today, is there's different things that can be open source. It's just basically so knowledge isn't just in the hands of those that can afford it anymore. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you agree with that? That, open source, anybody can do pretty much anything anymore?
There's this great combo of the open source meets crowdsource approach, right? Where you can take any of these formerly complex or challenging things that somebody has difficulty doing by themselves, or that typically somebody would do and then retain the rights to and charge everybody else to touch it. And everyone's kind of come together and said, hey, I'll do a little piece, you do a little piece, you do a little piece. The next thing you know, we've got this very complex, very powerful thing that nobody owns that we can then continue to build upon. And now we can sort of work as groups and share everything that we can do with it. And I mean, Arduino boards are a great example.
Yeah, that's a powerful way of putting that. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it is really about allowing everybody to do a little part here and there, and you don't know where the genius is going to be at. There's probably somebody in like Indiana somewhere, like Fort Wayne, that might have that might be a genius. We don't know. We might be named Alan Quant. I have no idea.
No.
But
are you studying Tesla on your free time? Working on your free energy?
I have a Tesla coil in my backyard.
Oh man.
Actually, a buddy of mine did build one of those. I haven't seen it yet. He also brews his own moonshine, so.
Oh, even better.
I don't know what
open source whiskey. Yeah, I like it.
We're not there yet. No, but like you'd mentioned with open source whiskey. Gosh, that just started a whole new topic in my brain. Wow. But you'd mentioned Arduino boards. Am I saying that right? Arduino? I haven't. I personally don't have one, but both of you guys have an Arduino board, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Can you explain, one of you, Alan? Can you explain what an Arduino board is?
From a layman, I can.
Yeah, that's as best. That's all I'm asking.
To me, it's. I mean, for somebody who's not I'm totally a software-based person, and the board allowed me to start to kind of get my head wrapped around how hardware works, and I thought that was great. That's not necessarily a definition of the board, but I mean, it's laid out in a really simple fashion, and the diagrams and things that, like with the books that you get with it, or you can get for it, clearly state how power gets to something, and how information's coming back, and then being able to use this software language that they've got that's really, really simple. I mean, any basic knowledge of software will get you through that. I don't know. I don't really know the definition of it.
I mean, it's basically like a little electronic board, right? Like let's say
it's almost like the simplest little motherboard computer, right? I mean,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it's got what has it got? It's got something like 256K RAM or some insanely small amount, but it's got an input and an output. It's actually got a dozen inputs and a half a dozen outputs, so that you can, in essence, say, all right, I'm going to plug one of the inputs into a motion sensor, and I'm going to plug one of the outputs into a siren, and then I use this very simple programming technique to get to teach the board a very simple program that says, all right, when the wire that goes into point 1 gets a signal, send a signal to point 6 and set off the siren. And there you go. You got yourself a custom-made motion sensor.
That's pretty crazy.
A very annoying one. But
yeah, probably. But we're talking...
protect my emeralds in the...
Right. Yeah, right. But, I mean, we're talking a couple of years back. Some people, I mean, we wouldn't have access to that sort of thing. You know, that was just for people in colleges and universities or at MIT that could do that. Now people are doing it in their basement. Literally, Alan does it in his basement.
It's sitting on my basement floor as we speak.
See? So, I mean, allowing...
Just to clarify, the thing is about 3 inches 3 inches long, 2 inches wide. I don't know if the floor is really a great place to store it now.
It's in its box.
It's in the box. It's crush proof.
Yeah, I mean, I made it. I did. I mean, pretty much what you just talked about, minus the siren. It it comes up and I got the log open, and when it detects, it's not necessarily motion, but light. I guess, kind of the same in a way, but. And, I modified the code, to shoot a message up that said somebody walked by or something walked by, and if somebody isn't, then it doesn't,
I don't see, to me, it sounds impressive to me, personally, because I don't know that kind of stuff. I don't know how to do that and being able to access that and, just get a book that tells me, hey, you could make yourself a motion sensor, hook it up, and hook a camera to it or whatever. You're designing something from scratch, which is crazy.
But really, when you're talking about the philosophy of open source here, the beauty is that if you want to make a motion sensor, or let's say that you wanted to make the motion sensor exactly like Alan made, but you also want to add a light to it so that a light, a little stop sign goes off, or you make this really cool piece of furniture that turns on your lamp that's in your living room, whatever it may be. It's because everybody's sharing what they're doing, and the code is so simple and straightforward and designed specifically so that you can take different puzzle pieces from different people. You end up being able to, without having to sort of glean all of the knowledge of how circuitry works and how programming works, you can stand on the shoulders of others and make these incredible custom designed things that you had the idea for, you just didn't have the know-how, and now people are saying, oh, well, here's this little piece and here's that little piece. I mean, heck, Alan, share your project with the community, and someone will add those little modifications to it.
No, that's a good point too. I mean, one of the things, especially watching people learn, learning from my videos, and then also, just how I've learned from watching other people's stuff on the internet. Sometimes all it takes is just one person explaining something their own way, and it triggers something in you, so you can take what they did and I mean, not necessarily just expand on it, but you finally get it to the point where you can move forward. Whereas just looking at a book, sometimes you're like, okay, I don't get this. Yeah. Close the book. Yeah. And that's really cool, I think, as far as open source goes, because there's more opportunities. There might be 10 people who made something exactly like I did, but one person might watch mine or somebody else's, and it finally triggers what they need to know to move forward. I think that's cool. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like with anything we do. It's like with web design. Say you know how to do PHP. I don't know how to do PHP, but I can do crazy HTML. So we could get together on a project. You could do the PHP, I could do the HTML, and together a really cool looking website comes out of that. In other words, like with the Arduino boards, like you're saying, is if you share your motion sensor with somebody, if you don't know how to do a certain part of it, somebody else could come in and say, hey, why don't we put this huge annoying siren on it? And you can say, I don't know how to do that, but somebody else might know. And
I like that. It with hardware, it kind of opens up the door to some other areas you might even not think of. Like, for instance, the singer in one of my bands, he owns a 3D printer. And,
oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so like that was one of the big goals I had, was figuring out this Arduino board so I can take the knowledge I have of 3D and maybe build some case for whatever master creation I make, and then have him print it with his 3D printer. And so you can get people collaborating on that kind of stuff too, like just ways you don't even think about. I mean, graphic designers can also kind of get in there depending on what kind of interfaces, visual interface is coming off the board, things like that. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
And open source they've really started to build these great sharing communities. I mean, Maker is a great example. They've got the Make magazine, and they run Maker fairs in New York and San Francisco with hundreds of people. I think they had something like 45,000 people last year go to this thing. with all manner of projects and all just kind of coming together, share. Everything's open. Nobody's trying to sell anything. They're just trying to share what they've done and say, hey, look how cool this thing is. And in fact, they're even making a course on Udemy. They're doing a Raspberry Pi course, which is the sort of sister to Arduino boards.
Raspberry Pi?
Raspberry Pi, yeah. It's the exact same idea. It's a sort of an open source little motherboard. And again, they cost like, $20 or $30. They're really quite reasonable.
Yeah, see, that's obtainable.
For a computer. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I went to the Radio Shack the other day to get some cables for my stereo or my mixer set up here, and I saw, I think, 15 or 20 different Arduino boards and then 5 or 6 different books, and they're all affordable.
Yeah.
So
they've even. Oh yeah, go ahead.
You're probably going to say the same thing. The different capabilities that these things have now, like you can get for $50, maybe you get the Arduino board that has Wi-Fi capability.
Ooh.
Or one that comes with a digital screen so that you can make an alarm clock or something out of it. I mean, you can use these, build your own little quadcopters, or build some drones around the neighborhood, whatever.
Just what we need.
I mean, that's what's so cool about it. I mean, you can just look and boom, here's a big schematic on how to make a drone and how much it will cost you to get the pieces and parts and where you can get them, and that's just awesome.
Scary cheap.
Yeah.
Scary cheap to make a drone these days.
Very.
Yeah, definitely. They even have, I don't know if you've seen this, Alex, yet, but they've even made it even easier with that Tinker kit. At first I thought it was like a toy version of the Arduino, just from the name. But that's another shield, I guess, that goes on top of the Arduino board, where you can just snap pieces and parts, like switches and sensors and stuff. They just kind of pop into place, so you don't even have to deal with the wires and stuff.
Great.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whoa.
That's a brilliant idea.
That seems like something that I should get into, but I have so many irons in the fire now, I don't want to add any more.
It might end up sitting on your basement floor.
That's probably where it'll end up, either that or in my laundry basket by accident. And only 3 inches wide. Yeah, that'll definitely get thrown in the laundry. But yeah, I mean, those things are absolutely a great example of open source hardware and open source in general. Let's go to a quick music break here, and then we can come back and discuss some more open source projects. All right? All right.
Great.
We'll be right back with you.
Hey, I heard you are a wild one. Ooh, if I took you home, it'd be a home run. Show me how you do. I wanna shut down the crowd with you. Hey, I heard you like a wild one. Ooh.
They say that I'm a wild boy, the MGK, so we party all night, yeah, let me relay. Number one time, keep it on replay, and we're gonna make it like Wale. Tell me where to go, tell me where it is, say what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do. Pop my balls like cheese, success with the end of the night, with all of her ass, and I'm go crazy. I'm going ham, cause I'm open to the feel like I'm a new fresh prince. They say to remember me from last night, when it's all past tense. Just look at what we do for the music, with you, take it, get it, just music. Easy to special, most on the road, things to like J.A.'s, go Steve-O.
Hey, I heard you are a wild
Steve-O.
one. Ooh,
Come Steve-O.
if I took you home, it'd be a home run.
We the wild
Show
ones.
me how
Like
you do. I wanna shut down the crowd with you. Hey, I heard you like a wild one.
Shot glass pulled up, but I sip more blood. I always shut, cause I'm always getting messed up. I'm a wild one, drink it till the sun's up. Hit the fingers up like we don't give a fuck. We can party like all day, keep it rockin' all night. Show to the venue like hold up, DJ turn it up till this my night. Like a rubber. Shots keep on coming like, homie, we don't stop. Keep it bumping in the club like a bottle gonna pop. To all the ladies, you can drop it down low. Wanna back up, make it bring it on the pole. Party till the AM, do it till the morning. To the young, ride it, yeah.
Hey, I heard you are a wild one. Ooh, if I took you home, it'd be a home run. Show me how you do. I wanna shut down the crowd.
Justin the Geek. Break it up, break it up, break it up. On the ones and twos.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that song. That was Wild One's cover, Flow Rida. It was a cover by Arit Esselin. She was actually a guest on the show a few weeks back. She, too, is a Udemy instructor. She teaches a course with Jewel Tolentino called 25 Steps to Rock Your YouTube Views. It's a good way of learning how to get your YouTube views noticed and out there. Good for marketing. Before the break, we were talking about Arduino boards and drones and all kinds of fun stuff that you can do with open source. There was something that Alex had brought up last time we talked after the show, and it's something that I'll let you explain it a little bit more, but they're called CubeSats. And yeah, go ahead.
They're this amazing thing that NASA is basically allowing mainly universities, but it's honestly open to anybody, to create a tiny satellite, and NASA will send it up for you for free. I mean, just think about the potential of that for a second, right? The ability for anybody anywhere to have their own personal satellite.
Yeah, we're talking about NASA.
Yeah, right. Well, let's clarify that NASA doesn't exactly have a lot of rockets these days.
Right.
Shuttles are down.
That's a good point.
But what they do have, they are letting. I think I saw they've got 33 going up on their next couple of launches, and this is mainly sending equipment and so forth, doing some repairs. But the cool thing about these CubeSats is a very simple concept. If you can fit your satellite into a 1 liter volume of space, so you got 1 liter worth of volume to work with, and about 1 1/3 kilograms worth of weight. Whatever you build, you propose the science or technology that you're going to be trying to implement, and they'll set it up for you for free.
That's pretty. Oh man, that's pretty impressive. I mean, like I said, we're talking outer space. You couldn't touch that in the public.
Yeah,
that was 100% government. There's no way you could even do anything with the space unless you were, breaking every law. But so they're basically allowing you to.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, you ever see October Sky?
Well, yeah. I don't. Was that real? Was that based on a true story?
I think it was.
I don't know.
Actually.
I honestly, that's why I'm asking. I have no idea. I remember the movie, Jake Gyllenhaal. I remember him being in that, but.
I mean, I don't think space is not owned by the government. So if you can get there, it's just so expensive.
Yeah.
The price to get a pound of material out of the atmosphere, right, into Earth orbit is tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, I wonder I'm not quite sure what the going rate is these days.
Yeah.
There's an exchange out there somewhere.
We want exact statistics on this show. We will have no false statistics.
Yeah, we use things like Wikipedia for our information. All fact.
Yeah, that's 100%.
I was actually pretty right. Look at that. $10,416.
That's pretty close.
On a USA
That's insane. I mean, what could you do with a little satellite besides? All I can think of is like Sirius satellite radio. I have my own dedicated satellite for my radio. I mean,
it depends what you can fit. Do you remember Weird Science?
Oh my God,
classic.
Yeah.
Heck, if you can get yourself a little laser beam mirror up there and cook some popcorn from space.
Oh, that was Real Genius.
Real Genius. Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
Real
that's a classic. Love that movie. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what you're researching and what you want to do with the information that you get, because that you can put a pretty serious little computer in that 10 by 10 centimeter box. It just depends on what you're trying to get.
Fit in that.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
There you go.
Lots of motion sensors.
Yeah, I was going to say, when some alien ship passes by, it sends a signal to your Arduino board.
I'd like to keep an eye on North Korea at this point.
Yeah. I would like you to do that too, seeing that I live on the West Coast and they're not so happy with us over here.
I guess that's about the point where Indiana is a pretty cool place to live.
Yeah, that'll be the survival state for survival area. Everybody just shows up in Indiana.
I'm going to stay away from Mississippi if we ever get to that point. They have way too many guns down there. The militia coming out of the south.
Oh man!
If there's ever Armageddon, forget it.
Wow, we are so on track. I love it.
Open source Armageddon.
Well, that's right. Everybody has access to their open
See,
source.
that's true. At that point, we can have our open source Jones. We'll be okay.
If you guys ever build a drone, please let me know because I went in on that project.
Oh, you'll know, Justin.
Well, yeah, when it's flying past my place, probably, but it's creepy. No, speaking. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's a couple of other ways that folks are doing that sort of open source space movement. I heard about this other organization called DIY Rockets, which right off the bat sounds great.
Yes.
But they're actually they're in the education space, so they're really focusing. They're looking to kind of create that Udemy style course where you bring all of the experts together for, okay, I need to build a rocket. Well, what do I need to know? All right, I got to know how to do some telemetry. I got to know rocketry. I got to know all these these pieces that goes into building a rocket. But again, you crowdsource that process. You provide the educational resources to somebody that's really into the engineering aspect or really into the the fuel mixture aspect, whatever it may be, can kind of work together and collaborate, get the knowledge they need, and build yourself an open source rocket.
Right. Yeah, and you throw in an artist in there that can actually design what the rocket looks like, and I mean, however you pull it together, that's pretty interesting. I mean, space travel is getting to the point where, like Richard Branson from Virgin Mobile, he has his own rocket, his own spaceship.
Atlantic now, yeah.
You know, and he just...
No, I'm sorry, Virgin Galactic.
Is it Virgin Galactic now? Good Lord.
Have you seen the I can't
No.
Galactic One?
Yes, that.
Yeah.
Is that what it's
Galactic
called?
One is his first ship, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it, I think I saw it in a Popular Science magazine a while ago. Are you talking about his first spaceship that he made?
It's like it's open to the public. Well,
Yeah.
you gotta have money.
It's like $200,000 or something like that.
It's open to the private.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have a big checkbook, it's open to you.
Exactly.
But, I mean, there are other people besides Sir Richard Branson that are building rockets. There are people out in the public that are trying to build rockets and go into outer space. They just have to afford it. And
At the moment, it's still, it's the Elon Musk is another big one. He's the PayPal guy and big in Silicon Valley who's got he's got SpaceX down here, and they're the ones that won the contract to be the first private company to supply anything to the space station. And they've flown a couple up there, but I mean it is officially private now, not open source certainly.
No.
But what's beautiful about it is you bring that knowledge into the private space, and the very next step here is bringing it into the public space.
Yeah, exactly.
Once it's out of the government hands.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is getting it out of the government's hands and allowing people to be able to be a part of it and study it and research it.
Right. Yeah. And the more we have access to this knowledge, the less the government's going to be able to control it. We're going to be coming up with stuff first. Mm-hmm. It's going to go the other way, I imagine.
Yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. I think you're right there, though. I saw this an article in my Popular Science magazine where a 15-year-old built a nuclear reactor in his garage. Now, mind you, it wasn't this giant nuclear reactor that's going to blow anything up or kill anyone. It was a very small... it was just an example of nuclear fusion. It wasn't exactly, he wasn't making an atom bomb or anything crazy, but... it's basically 3 steps that he did for this, and he was able to get the parts and everything pretty cheap to do this. It's 2 vacuum pumps that suck air out of this central chamber, and that leaves this near total vacuum inside of there. So the loose atoms flying around in there, they interfere with the fusion, and then the chamber is filled with deuterium. I don't know what element that is or where I even got it. Deuterium. But then it's jolted with about 45,000 volts of electricity. So a negatively charged grid of these thin steel wires attracts the positive particles, and then that causes them to sometimes collide. So colliding particles fuse to form helium-3. The resulting neutron emission is measured, and that's fusion. He creates nuclear fusion in his garage. And
that's kind of scary.
Isn't that creepy?
Yeah. I mean, he's not actually generating net positive here from fusion, right?
Right. But I mean,
he hasn't solved the great riddle of,
of
fusion energy or anything.
No, not at all. It was a very, very small experiment, and but 15 years old.
Yeah, by 30 he might have solved it.
Yeah, right. And
He's kissing it.
that's kind of crazy to me. 15 years
Still
old.
waiting for a flux capacitor.
That'll happen.
Totally. The hoverboard will come first, though, I think.
Oh, I hope so.
We're almost due.
I want the self-drying clothes too.
Yeah.
Those would be great.
I think we were promised the hoverboard by like 2000.
I do remember that as a kid, hoping that would come out.
That'd make
I heard about this other. Yeah, I heard about this other kid who I mean, the idea of kind of people hacking energy and kind of opening it up to the public is really interesting. There's another 13, 15-year-old kid who discovered a way to use solar powers 50% more efficiently. Basically looked at the way that trees in the wintertime, without their leaves, he noticed the pattern of how the branches are distributed and actually deduced the Fibonacci sequence out of kind of the way that they are laid out and built a PVC pipe tree and used solar panels as what would be the leaves, and in essence discovered that the way that those leaves are distributed leads to a better capturing of light in any season, as opposed to, like, you think of the typical flat panel type of solar panel where only when the sun's shining directly on it is it really that efficient, whereas this kind of takes a more, I'll catch the sun wherever it may be as often as it may be approach, and produces like 50% more energy than a normal solar panel. And again, just a kid.
Wow.
Just a kid who probably went online, bought these open source, figured out how to do it.
That's a big breakthrough too, because solar power, I mean, it's a great thing, but it's so, it's not set up properly yet. And for that, him being able to find 50% more on solar is incredible.
Those are the kind of things that amaze me. Like, somebody just looking outside thinking, how can I make solar power better? Staring at a bunch of trees that have been doing it for, like, I was going to say centuries, but I think it's a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, right.
But, you know what I mean? Like, you're just like, it's right in your face. Like, this is doing it better.
Yeah. And they just come up with it just like that. But, I mean, had he not had the tools and the resources, that wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, very true.
That's it's getting more to that point too, where education, like with Udemy, we'll use that as a great example. Is a lot of education is becoming very easy to obtain.
Yeah.
And
that's probably one of the first key components. You don't even know what you don't know until you start learning.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to just keep learning stuff, it's out there now. The libraries aren't the only place you can go anymore. They're not the single most important place to get information anymore. It's
kind of an open source education.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's like with Udemy, it's like I can teach some computer repair stuff, and then, Alex, you can teach your Excel stuff, and Alan teach the web design stuff, and in some way you can learn 3 different things right there very easily.
And affordable.
And
Very affordable, yeah.
and so diverse. I mean, not just those 3 things. You can really come and decide any area that you're interested in. I think that's really the big advantage. You think about how we learned in school, and it was, all right, well, what are the 4 classes that are available in this time slot? Am I going to learn 19th century British literature, or am I going to learn, how to play the banjo, or I don't, I'm not. I guess I could maybe take this somewhat interesting computer science class, but not exactly what you want. Now you can really focus exactly specifically on what you're interested in.
Right.
I want to learn how to do responsive web design for my iPhone and Android devices.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't do that before.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
but you can pretty much put your own curriculum together, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to really like about it. In fact, you know what? I want to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll come back, and I'd like to discuss more about open source education, because I think it's a good thing to discuss. So we'll be right back with you.
Getting an amazing education is a must, but going to classes and listening to boring teachers can be very painful and expensive. Luckily, we have the internet, but it is so hard to find courses that are high quality, cheap, and easily accessible. Not anymore, thanks to Udemy. Udemy is the online academy for you. At Udemy, you can find hundreds of great courses from world-class instructors. You can learn stuff like how to create awesome demo videos cheaply, how to program in Python, Ruby, or HTML, how to start your own company, even how to wiggle your feet to the rhythm of salsa. But what if you want to teach others what you know? No problem. Udemy makes it super easy to create your own course in a few steps. Just create an account for free, give your course a name, upload all your content in any format, video, audio, PowerPoint, Word, PDF, publish it, and voila! It's now accessible to anyone, at any time, all over the world. You can even set a price for your course so you can make some money. Learn anything, teach anything at Udemy, the Academy of You.
Need a do-it-yourself with your website? Let the gurus at thedigitalcraft.com teach you how to build, design, and maintain your website at an affordable price. They offer private training on web programming, graphic and web design, video production, motion graphics, and expert consulting. Book your session today on Facebook at facebook.com/thedigitalcraft and check out free tutorials at youtube.com/thedigitalcraft or take our courses on udemy.com. Thedigitalcraft.com, your web and design guru.
Okay, stand by.
It's Justin, the geek. Are you ready to rock?
Ladies, make some noise.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, again to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. We were talking about, of course, open source, and we were leading into open source education. I think it's a really important topic to talk about because of how it's going to shape our education for the future. I mean, case in point, college education used to be the number one thing you had to get. You had to get that piece of paper, that degree that said you went to college. I don't see that being as important anymore. And I'm not saying it's not important by any means, but I just don't think that that's the case anymore. Do you guys agree with that?
I mean, we're still at the cusp of that change. There's still value to having that piece of paper, I think. But,
oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, when you think about it, there's a lot more that can be done in the proof that you know it space. That's going to be a challenge. But the actual education out there for if you just want to learn something and you are motivated to do it, and you don't care whether other people know you know it, that is now wide open.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, you definitely learn. Just maturity, I think, in college, because you get out of high school, you're still a kid, and there's definitely some of that you learn in college and the structure of college. It's the cost of college that bothers me the most, and especially if you go in, for instance, I've got an associate's degree and I didn't do squat with it, and most of what all the web stuff I learned on my own after college. So I've got a debt from college for something I'm not even using. And an associate's degree doesn't really get you squat these days anyways, but if I didn't go to college, aspect. Right. And if I didn't go, I don't know if I'd be able to do the things I do, have the maturity to do all the things I'm doing, the structure to learning on my own and all that. So I don't know.
Yeah, the structure, that's a good word for it too, is because you're basically learning a foundation or a structure in how to learn in college and how to educate yourself. And you have to have the maturity to want to go as well, because if you just jump right into college, like me personally, I went right into college and I wasn't mature enough to handle it. I wasn't ready to learn. And I wasted a lot of time and a lot of money, and I don't have a degree to show for it. I think also, like you're talking about with the associate's degree, not really doing anything, and that's what happened. And now it's a bachelor's degree, and then a few years you're going to have a master's, and then it's just inflation. So where does this stop? Where you have to have a PhD in, babysitting. I know a lot of people that are getting bachelor's and master's degrees in childcare development, which is basically babysitting. So it's a very slanted thing. Computer science degrees, they're just a dime a dozen. They used to be really important, but now if you have a computer science degree,
there's still so many jobs out there if you're getting your computer science degree, even if you're just coming out with an undergrad, you're coming into a workforce that is begging you to come work for them. Wow. The opportunities for those technology jobs are pretty valuable out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, depending on the job. I mean, because if they require a degree, absolutely. But I've worked with people that have had degrees, and I can run circles around them just because of my experience.
Well, yeah. I think that your point about having an inflationary aspect to, soon we're going to all have to have PhDs isn't necessarily the case. I think we're just all going to have to soon be able to prove that we're learning. Like we have to know more than we did before. But I don't think we necessarily need to have a PhD to show that we've learned it. Right? The value of the Ivy League education is diminishing.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's important. Is that, I mean, you can take a test and pass it, but whether you actually retain that knowledge is a totally different thing. I mean, I remember some of the courses I took in school that or in college that I could care less about. I didn't study for. I didn't do anything like that. I came up with an acronym system. That,
yeah.
Like how to remember what the answers were to certain problems or questions, and I passed, and I didn't learn anything from it. And then I go out into the job market after that, and what do I really know? And that's one thing that I've noticed a lot of comments from the things that I've taught. This is not tooting my own horn at all. It's as I can't stand listening to my own courses, but but a lot of what I hear is, I learn more from these 20 videos that I watched in 2 nights than I learned at all from the university or from the college, and I hear that a lot. And I think that has a lot to do with, and I don't know if it has a lot to do with the actual teachers, if it has to do with the politics around it, the curriculum structure being, have to be a certain way. And a lot of people have asked me, why am I not a professor? Well, for one, I can't be. I don't have the education to be one, but I would never want to be, just because I don't like that constraint put on me.
Right.
I like the fact that I can teach the way I'm comfortable teaching, and if people like that and people learn from it, then I've done my job. And I think that's a big way that learning on your own differs from what you may or may not learn while in college, depending whether or not you get that piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
College is slow to change.
Yeah, and the
Right.
education system is so far behind now with the structure of it anymore. If you look into how we're being taught, it hasn't changed. And we change, technology changes, information changes, but the way it's being taught and presented to people it hasn't changed. And nowadays they're getting to the point where they're penalizing young children who quote unquote have ADHD, when in fact most of the time it's because they have so much stimulus from birth that they have cell phones and everything, music, TV, everything's just constantly just pinging, and they get into a classroom and they're supposed to sit there with no stimulation and just listen to somebody talk, and then they can't because they're so used to having all the stimulation, and then they get penalized saying that they're acting out and they have ADHD and they need medicine, and when in fact a majority of those cases are just probably students and kids that have zero stimulation and they're used to it.
Very, very bored as an ADD kid, but I could come home and stare at my computer and learn the ins and out of that
Right.
for hours and hours and hours. I mean, sleep didn't even get in the way half the time.
See, I mean, when you the backwardness of the college and just the education system in general, and its inability to kind of adjust to those very specialized individual learning needs is the big advantage of the open source education movement. When you think about how Udemy works, and we were talking about this earlier, that for any one particular subject, you can have 4 or 5 different people that are
Right.
teaching it in different ways and will appeal to different audiences, so that you can really find the best kind of education for you, what fits your personal style of learning. And plus the analytics side, I mean, once you start bringing education online, you can really start to do some amazing stuff with how you measure. Udemy is at the very beginning of this process, but Khan Academy has done some pretty cool stuff from the teacher side about being able to kind of monitor how students are doing on specific questions and proactively recognize when they're having issues and be able to put them into groups with people that are excelling at a particular subject, so that the people that know it best can teach it to the people that are struggling. And I mean, that's just the kind of thing that you couldn't do in school.
Right.
No, that's a very good point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, because the schools, I don't think they have a very good way to judge that. I mean, for like the elementary school that my kids go to is, I think it's like called an A+ school or #1 school or something like that. But it's the top of the tier as far as elementary schools here in town. But I don't know. I haven't seen anything that's worthwhile out of there. I mean, luckily my kids are bright and sharp as a tack. But then I hear about their music class and they don't do anything.
Right.
They don't know even the fundamentals of music now, pushing into 4th grade. And so what does actually make it a good school, or with the stats you're saying online and things like that, being able to actually see a much more realistic look at how people are learning and if what you're doing is worth its salt.
Right.
Are you saving for college already, Alan?
For me, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
But I mean,
technically I am.
I've had this debate with my wife about, we don't have kids just yet, but with the way that online education is moving to the internet, and I mean the prices right now are outrageous, insane. I would be remiss as a father if I paid for an $80,000 education that wasn't worth its salt. Right?
Yeah.
I would rather give my kid an $80,000 investment in their first idea.
Right.
And let them learn that information online than spend it in a place that they aren't necessarily getting value out of. My wife is not a fan of that, though.
Yeah. My wife and I have different ideas on college, too, as far as whether they should pay for it or we should pay for it. I'm definitely of the notion that if they've got the knowledge, I'll pay for it. Or the drive, I'll pay for it. But my parents did something interesting with me that is similar to what you just said. And that's when they realized that I wasn't really performing in school the way I should, but they realized where my interests were. They went out and they did put an investment in me. Granted, it wasn't $80,000, but they went out, got me a new computer, at the time I was really heavily into recording music and things like that, and they got me recording gear and things like that, and that pushed me in a way that school never pushed me. It showed somebody had interest in what I was doing, and I took that by the horns, and it pushed me into. Granted, I got out of music and I used that computer to get into Photoshop and things like that,
right? Which
is exactly what I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great statement that you made there. Putting money into an idea.
Oh, absolutely.
You mentioned at the beginning, Alan, that there was still value in college, and I'm curious what from an honest perspective, like what does college have that you can't get elsewhere?
Really, I really still think it comes down to just the maturity and keeping you structured for a little bit longer. But as far as actually being worth what we paid for it,
it's the babysitting.
Right. It is.
Yeah, everybody craves guidelines and boundaries and rules and things like that. And when you don't have them at all, I think things when you're young especially can get out of hand.
True.
But
and I went to a different college, or a college a little different than most.
Right, me too.
Full Sail in Orlando, and most of their instructors at the time, which is before they were a university, so they weren't professors. And I don't know if any of this has changed since the requirements have gone up now that they're a university, but they had to have I think it was 5 or 6 years professional experience before they could teach, and that was a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I got to learn how they did things. They shared experiences with projects, deadlines, clients, things like that, and that really motivated me and showed me something. So I got an inside look rather than just being taught from a book.
Yeah,
just rehashed garbage from a book. I actually got to learn how the industry works and tricks and things like that. But again, I think it does come down to babysitting. If I didn't have that if I wasn't forced to be in it, because I hated being forced to do anything back then, and I guess I still do, since I don't work for anybody. But it as much as I hated it, if I didn't have it, I'd probably be a pretty loose cannon right now.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think it's maturity too.
Wait, what's that?
It's maturity too, I think, like you said. I mean, if you're at the age, like I'm 30 now, and I could do school on my own now without having to go to university and have those boundaries and guidelines and whatnot. But at age 18, there's no way I could have. I was so immature.
Yeah, I
could
felt
just
the
be
same way
individual.
with high school. It's true. It's different for everybody, but there's something to be said for that. There's that driving force in you where you want to kind of succeed because you want other people around you to see that success, right? You want to. There's a fear of your name being called out in class and you not being there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and that
definitely.
helps, I think, to drive a lot of people to do things they wouldn't otherwise do. But that's also something that could be accomplished for $1,000 a year, where you just meet at the it's not a college, it's a study group.
Yeah.
Right? And you buy into a study group, and everybody goes, and they all take their classes together. It's just you're not paying for bricks and mortar.
Well, yeah, and then, I mean, nowadays with the technology, like, you could use Google Hangouts and get 15 people together and online. You don't even have to go anywhere. And you all can study together in whatever states. Like Alan and I work together all the time. He's in Indiana and I'm in Washington.
I mean, who doesn't want to take their classes in their underwear?
Right?
That needs to be an easier thing for people to do.
I am in my pajamas right now, by the way.
I know, you just woke up a little bit ago.
That doesn't really matter.
Does it need to be general knowledge that that you're on the East Coast and woke up 2 hours ago?
Yeah.
No, it actually just doesn't matter what time of day it is. I'm probably wearing pajamas.
Yeah, that's the beauty of working for yourself.
I have dress shoes on, too, because they're the first
Whoa. That's a great image. That's going to be the cover image for this show.
The wife said I had to take the dogs out really quick before the show, so I grabbed the first shoes I saw.
That's awesome.
Self-educated.
That's right. You want to be like Alan Klein.
You too could live in dress shoes and no pants.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love it. Well, hey, let's go to a quick music break, and then we'll come back. And you guys you care to keep talking about this? I'd like to. A little bit more on education.
Right on.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
cool. We'll play a song then, and we'll come back and keep talking your guys' ears off. So we'll be right back.
And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic, and we putting it on disc. It's the old style. Kick it. Now I'm walking in this club with gold chains like Mr. T. Kick open doors and grab the first girl I see. I smack on the booty pooch, I got all the right moves. I teach you how to work it, but you mess up my groove. $200 bottle of bubbly is what I got. No, I don't smoke that fire, but I sure smell a lot. Roll through in my Hummer on some 40-inch rims. Remote control on my watch so you can watch them spin. Tip up your cup, you better do what I say. Pimpin' going round here every single day. Jump in the crowd, see balls flying all around. Don't look now, but I just knocked that girl down. You ain't gotta fight for your right to party. We ain't here for long, come on, don't be sorry. Have another drink of Coke mixed with Bacardi. 'Cause you ain't gotta fight for your right to party. You ain't gotta fight for your right to party. We ain't here for long, come on, don't be sorry. Have another drink of Coke mixed with Bacardi. 'Cause you ain't gotta fight for your right to party. You wake up late for work and you don't wanna go. Lulu came to town and he's putting on a show. Called up all your friends and they just ain't with it. Neighbor girl's underage but she still wants to kick it. Your mom threw away your best man some mad. Thought she found your stash but you put it in your bag. Pops is all mad so he takes it out on you. Your girl's fooling round now, what you gon' do? Blowing up your phone 'cause you still late at work. But your job sucks and you rather eat dirt. Failing through subjects but you keep cutting class. But you don't care 'cause you know you'll still pass. Medical crew, you don't want it to end. But something's gotta give, but you gotta hide a friend. Always wanna run
Austin the Geek. Your favorite DJ. You've been warned.
I love that intro. It's like, you've been warned. I don't know what you've been warned about, but we're back. We were talking about education, open source, a whole lot of different things. And there, I saw in the chat too, Hercules, who happens to be my mother, mentioned the word accountability as far as college goes. And I think that's a good one too. Like I was talking about with guidelines and having your boundaries, whatnot, just being accountable for what you're doing, and that you're paying this amount of money to go to school, skipping class and not going, you're just losing a bunch of money.
Yeah, and in my school, it was really bad. Like, it was an accelerated school, so in our classes, it was like we didn't go 24/7, but the classes were 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So sometimes we had like a 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. lecture and then a 1 a.m. lab. And by squeezing these classes into like a 1 month period, we were only allowed to miss sometimes 3 hours of a class. So we couldn't even miss a whole lecture without being flunked out of it and have to rebuy it, which at the rate at that time, some of these courses were like $3,000. Now I think they're up to like 6 or 7. So yeah, you had to be accountable. There was no other way around it, or you're going home.
Wow.
And leaving Florida to go back to Indiana didn't sound very fun.
It sounds like being held hostage, not being accountable.
I know.
Right?
You will learn and like it.
That's right. That's right. It's like ransom.
I know, no kidding.
Well, then another thing, that we were talking about too was the social aspect. I hear a lot of people say that about college, is that, well, I went to college and a university because I wanted the social feel. I wanted to be part of the football games and things like that. And that's true. I went to the Art Institute in Portland, and we didn't have a football team. We didn't have a sport, nothing. And I did miss that. I would have liked to have gone. Like, my brother went to Washington State. He, to this day, still follows the Cougars, even though they're terrible. But he still has, his alma mater. He follows along with the sports. So I understand that and the social aspect of it. But,
If my tech school had a football team, it'd be more comedy than anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I couldn't imagine an Art Institute with any kind of sports team. That'd just be funny. The mascot would be like...
scared of the ball.
Yeah. Mascot would be a paintbrush. Yeah, I don't know. But, nowadays with the technology like I was talking about, you can sort of get that social aspect online, in communities. And like Udemy, you can talk with other instructors, you can talk with other students and things like that. But I guess you're still not getting that physical, social thing.
Meetup.com did that for a while, or did a good thing for a while there.
Who did?
Meetup.com.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
It allows you to... Yeah, it's a paid thing now, which kind of sucks. Before it wasn't.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah, and kind of drove people away, I think. But I started a graphic design meetup here. It could have been about 7 or 8 years ago now. And we just go out and hang out and have a beer and pretty much just shoot the breeze about graphic design. And, we'd all learn a little bit from each other. And it kind of goes, I don't know if you were talking about on the break or if it was during the show, Alex, but, the ability to actually put together kind of courses here in town, and kind of independent courses or just workshops and things like that. I think that's great because you still get that community thing. Right.
Skillshare is a good example of that. They, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. They do live, live education. They're kind of taking the Udemy model of anybody can create a course, but doing it at a specific place and a specific time.
Yeah, actually, I just signed up for that, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it's the challenge, of course, is it doesn't work for everybody, right? It works if you live in a big city, but I bet you it's going to be hard pressed in Indiana to find a lot of what you want to know on Skillshare. So, I think that you're right. That there's the physical aspect, right? The being next to people. You can't play beer pong over Google Hangouts.
That's right.
You do lose that.
You cannot black out.
Might get messy.
Yeah.
But
I guess maybe over chat roulette you could do it.
Yeah, but that, like we were also talking about too on the break, is you get too much of the social, you forget about the education.
Yeah.
You black out every single night. You're going to not remember what you just studied in your law class.
And like you said, there's that accountability element when you're just coming out of high school. You're 18. You're not quite there yet. And, you know, I've got relatives who smart kid, a cousin of mine, a real smart kid, went to college his first year and just wasn't ready for it.
Yep.
And didn't go to any classes, and it's taken him twice as long to graduate as a result, just because that first year, you know, you get straight Fs. It's kind of hard to come back from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that kills your financial aid, too. You know, if you go and you ruin your financial aid by failing classes over and over again, you may not get it again. Or you have to pay out of pocket for 2 years until you can, you know, pay out of pocket, pass classes, and then you can get your financial aid back. And that's, nowadays, is really, really difficult.
I did kind of a different approach to it. I went to the first college I went to is the extension of Indiana University here in Fort Wayne, and instead of slacking off, I only took the courses that I wanted to take, and I did that for almost 3 years. I just took the 3D animation course as many times as I could take it, and the graphic design course as many times as I could take it.
Just over and over again, the same course?
I think you could take them up to 3 times before the credits meant squat.
No way.
So, so I just kind of manipulated it to be what I wanted to learn. I mean, it's like no different than me sitting in my basement all night. You know, I just went there instead and played on their computers, and I didn't even have homework.
Expensive.
Yeah, a little more expensive. When I even got a scholarship from the work I was doing that paid for one of the semesters of me kind of screwing off. But I mean, I got to the point where I manipulated it to where, I mean, it definitely helped me because I was learning at my own pace and doing whatever I want. But at the same time, there was no structure those first couple of years in college because I was allowed to go to I went to a computer lab next to the one where my class was. I'd show up for the first 5 minutes, listen to the professor talk, and then he let me go into another computer lab where I could work on 4 computers at once. So, I'd have a 3D model I'd be working on one computer, then I'd be working on the landscape in another, and I'd be making textures in Photoshop on another one, and start rendering it on the 4th one, you know, like crazy crap like that. But I didn't, you know, it was just as bad as me screwing off and partying, which I was doing that too. But, but I didn't get any of that accountability that first time around. It wasn't until I moved to Florida and was held for ransom.
Right. Yeah, I guess basically what it comes down to, if we're saying anything, is you got to do what you're ready for. You know, if you don't think you're ready to go and move out of town and go to a university, don't. If you think you are, then do it. I mean, there's no fault in getting an education at all. You know,
I mean, as much as I deride the college world, it was an amazing experience. I would give it up for the world. That's
another thing too, is it's the memories that you can create. Like, I'm sure Alan is the same, but when I went to the Art Institute, every day for me, it was a private school, so we didn't have like a big campus, or I'd go to school and I'd come home. You know, I didn't have any extracurricular activities. I didn't have any memories really made there except for classes. So, you know, if a lot of people do want that experience and to have that story to tell your children and things like that. And it is somewhat of a success story to tell your children too, that you went to this university, graduated, you know.
Right. So. But if you're not ready for it, it's only going to end in disaster and expensive disaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So stay in school, kids, but don't stay too long.
Yeah, don't stay too long. Once you hit that age, just kind of think it over.
Think it over, exactly.
Well, I do want to thank you both for being on the show again this week. I'm glad you guys got to stop by and talk.
Good times.
Yes, yeah. I woke up for it.
Yeah, woke up, threw on your dress shoes. Pajamas and dress shoes, ready for live speak. Got it.
Yep.
So, well, thanks again, guys. Next week, Danielle Leslie will be on the show from udemy.com. That should be an interesting show. In fact,
she is a rock star.
Is she?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's fantastic.
No, that'll be a good show then.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll sneak you guys on the show and you guys can bombard her with questions.
Yeah, am I co-hosting?
Yeah. Why not?
All right.
I don't mind. It's better to have more than one person co-hosting, in my opinion. So, anyway.
Always fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. Take care, guys, and tune in next week, 2 p.m. live speak with Justin the Geek.